Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program on target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socioeconomic issues, any topical issue of the day, any issue trending. We speak about it. And we give you an opportunity to introduce your own topic. Today is the final day of Christmas. So we celebrate the baptism of the Lord. Catholics, Anglicans, somebody other religion associated with, other Christian religion associated with. So after that, you will see they taking down all the beautification, all the things that they put up for Christmas. That would be dismantled. If you're a Catholic, you'll notice that the color green dominates as we go back to ordinary times. So that is the end of Christmas. And we continue. The baptism of the Lord. Significant period. 6 months ago, we had election in Grenada. Christmas finished. And now the government would have had practically a 6 months grace period when people will be watching to see what direction they take, what road they're on, what trajectory they're on. And during that time, you will find people questioning the actions of any government more. But they still have another year in when people will make up their mind whether you want to get rid of this government or not, whether it's a waste of time, or whether you intend to keep them. So far, the actions they have been taking showing some very worrying signs. They presented the budget in December, and the budget looked as if you have two distinct parts. One part with pie on a plate, and another part where the budget is a disaster. Already, well over 600 people have lost their job. Yes, caller, welcome.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes.
I trust you would have had a good weekend.
Yes, great.
For us in Grenville, we were affected by what you would call maybe a flash flood or over the weekend. Some business were affected, especially with that of the sidewalk vending. It had to be put on hold for a couple hours. But business went on as usual. I also want to say your new introduction remind me a lot of our culture, what we used to experience. When you hear the drums, it make you want to dance. And it reminded me as a child how they used to have dancing on the road in Paraclet. A certain time when of the year we had our former Prime Minister, Dr. Sir Eric, coming up, and you have different village groups plaiting the maypole, dancing the ballet as you go along. And that involves a lot of young people from the communities and the schools. And I believe if we can engage in activities like this again, it might help to eliminate some of the wrong and the negatives that are happening on our blocks. We need to engage our minds. I also, as a person on the ground, justice must not only appear to be served, it must be served. And I wonder, the police is there to serve and protect. And it boggles some of us, the minds of some of the people that have been around Grenville all our life, over 40, 50 years. And when you as a law-abiding citizen, is approached by the officers on duty and being told that, you after all these years, you're parking in the wrong place or you're not in the right place. One wonders, what is going on. And I do hope that justice is served there is a pending matter, and I don't want to go into much, but I just do hope that justice is served, and it just not appear to be served, because it's difficult for one to understand when you're going to tell somebody that, for all of the years have been packing in this position, that you're not packing in the right place. And somebody on the opposite side with the same sort of facility is, left alone or is not approached. And then somebody on the same side, just around the corner, is not approached. One wonders, what is going on. Have a great day, Mr. Pierre, and we look forward to justice in our land. God bless you.
Yes, scholar. Very two very important comments from you that I feel compelled to react to. One of them is the culture of the people. The culture in those days was practically carried by the teachers in the school. In almost every group in Grenada, teachers was deeply involved in it. Whether it was Magnificent Six, Seven, or what, whether it was Jaja Children or what group, or bits and pieces, the teachers in the school was involved in the community activity. The school used to buy into the community, and the community owned the school. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Yeah, good afternoon and happy new year to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, don't get no, we talk about like healthiness, cleanliness, and we love to see our country go forward and clean up and so forth. So what my such is no, don't get mad. No, I don't. No.
Caller, when you call the program, you
okay.
punch.
All right. Okay. Well, what I will
Go
see
ahead.
taking place? What I will see taking place in my community, especially in Carrier on the roadside, all them old vehicle and what is not using, they have to remove all that old vehicle and on the roadside, because this is causing a lot of problem too. And this road is a very, very small narrow road, and Carrier it's a very small place. So what I like to see, and if they get all them old vehicle and on the roadside, that the government money go spend good, and that they will have enough room and enough space to do a very good job, left, right, center. So that's what I have to say now. You have a good day.
Thank you, caller. So yes, culture was a very important aspect of it, because the prime minister then encouraged it. You see, when the head of the country set a template, it is easier to filter down on the ground. Culture was an important aspect. River Sally with Maguire, and we used to get dancers from River Sally to teach other communities to sing. And this was volunteer. And Broad Grove Lancers dancer used to come and teach other communities. And dancers from Paraclete used to go and teach other communities. And that was free. So you had a lot of cultural group and a lot of drumming. But the teachers in the schools was involved. But we have a new breed of educators now. They are not locked down. They want to fence the school. They don't want groups to use the school anymore. And over the years, that has contributed in changing the dynamics of the group. Now you have mega parties taken on by promoters. So gone are the days when groups make dance for charitable, for the development of the community, for the development of assisting people. A lot has changed. In the process, a lot of individuals do not have the talents and the skills and the culture. So I like that point, sister. And secondly, police. I always speak very highly about the police in Grenada. Because when you look at the amount of crime that takes place in the Caribbean and the level of conflicts we have in Grenada, the police have been doing a good job. But sometimes the actions taken by Grenadians shocks you. It doesn't follow logic. There are some issues in Grenada that does not follow logic. And it goes to court, and the court system doesn't follow logic. And that's why it's important for people to speak on certain issues and add your voice to it. Because when your neighbor house on fire, take water and wet yours. Sometimes in Grenada, I notice over the years, we have a hate against businessmen. As soon as you enter business, you become the enemy in the community. It seems as though our culture encourages people to go against the businessman. It's almost like a paradox, because you need more business. You need Grenadians to invest more, to take risk, to employ people. But we continue to fracture the relationship between the employer and the employee. A lot of businessmen believe the police don't like them. A lot of small businessmen believe that once it seems as if they're successful, the police don't like them. They don't get a good deal from the police. When I heard that about 10, 15 years ago, I decided to do my own research. And after discussion and dialogue with 16 businessmen, I had to be convinced that the relationship, and the attitude, and the perception of these businessmen was like cockroach in front of fowl. Even the government today are taking actions that fracture the relationship between the worker and the businessman, the employer and the employee. I spoke about NIS a few days ago. NIS is creating an environment that continues to fracture the relationship between the employer and the employee. And let me put a qualifier: the small employers. Most of the big employers, they have the technology, they have the staff, they have personnel department to deal with this logistics. But small employers, some of them don't even know the technology. They're not technologically ready. And NIS is profiting as a result of the ignorance of these employers. I compare the NIS, the board, and the management team. I don't know if you call them middle managers. In NIS, I put them in the same category with those that involve in greed and larceny in this country. And that's why I invited the Minister of Agriculture, our brother Posweda. That is his Calypso name, I think, to investigate the incident. And I'm wondering if you're going to use the same expressions and terminologies that he used to describe people who are involved in greed and larceny. He called them lunatics and idiots. I don't agree with him, because I believe the majority of people that the police charge and are found guilty for acts of predial larceny did not exit school with a basic education. A significant percentage of them are on substance abuse. They are unemployed, and a couple have mental challenges. I don't agree they are lunatic and idiots, but I put the NIS management and the board members in the same category. Because I believe they are aware that they are deliberately creating the environment for people to be disadvantaged. Even people who got a sick leave are on sick leave, are unable to benefit from the sick leave benefit. I think that's how you address it. Because of technicalities that small employers find it real difficulties to use the technology to submit the names of the workers. I really don't understand why our intelligentsia, academia, is absconding the responsibility on the ground. I come to the conclusion that they believe when they are intelligent or when they're in a big position, they're in a new social class. And they heap scorn on the less fortunate. And they have a government now that facilitates that process. Because the government themselves doesn't seem to have a natural inclination, a natural affinity to people of a low income bracket. I don't know why. I think the government is misguided. Why do I say that? It is easy for me, in my opinion, to describe the government budget in two parts. One part that is a disaster if you're a low-income person. Within the first 6 months of the government coming to power, over 600 workers lost their job. We have news now, we're not able to verify it yet, but I'm hearing it loud and clear, that MNIB workers will lose their job. The government seems not to understand that when a government come in power, they come in power principally because of the needs of the people in the lower income strata. That is the majority of people in the country. That is the people that determine which government come in power. Not lawyers, not public officers, not businessmen. Yes, they vote too. But the majority of people in the lower income group, the government that win have to have the swing of these people. And I believe why the NDC have been so unsuccessful in having a second term is because of the attitude to this group. Why do I say that? During the period of the Homegrown Structural Adjustment Program, the National Democratic Congress cut social funding, social spending, and the people they fired was people from the lower income group. So we had high unemployment and a lot of suffering in that group. They lost election. The government then win 2 terms. In 2008, the National Democratic Congress, they dropped the salary, they dropped the wages, they dropped the daily pay of road workers, the bushers. They dropped the pay. They promised the elderly they would raise the money to $400. They did not do it. They promised the Imani they would raise the money to $1,000. They fired them instead. They promised to revamp the Imani program. They closed it down. Now in 2022, the National Democratic Congress, on coming to power, within 6 months, over 600 workers lost their job. The government looked for all kinds of technicalities to fire low-income group. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good
Yes,
afternoon.
caller, welcome. Yeah.
Punch, yeah. Mr. Pierre, I have a question,
Go right ahead.
I hope you could answer it for me.
I'll try.
I would like to know, Mr. Pierre, why the Treasury why the Treasury was pregnant with all this money, Mr. Pierre, after this election. I wonder why. And then, why asking that, Mr. Pierre? Teachers, Mr. Pierre, was in the sun, chanting, demonstrating, protesting for the 4% and other pension issues. And the Prime Minister never give them the money. So I'm wondering why.
Caller, that is two very significant questions that ask. Very, very significant. And I'll try to answer it very briefly. The Treasury was pregnant with money.
Yeah.
Because government had a structural adjustment program and they obeyed the agreement with the International Monetary Fund. They obeyed the agreement with the International Monetary Fund. The structural adjustment program, remember, Timothy Antoine was there in almost all the structural adjustment program in Grenada. This structural adjustment program, the government took a philosophical position that they would support the people in the low and income group at all costs. You heard the Prime Minister said repeatedly, all make sacrifice. We can't give one and walk away from others. So that was a philosophical position. And they prepared to provide savings for the future. But they don't see the future as dealing with one group. If you remember, the government had a program where they prepared to pay bonds. So one would say, why they had money, why they prepared to pay bonds? Well, that again is a question of economic policies. Grenadians like to save, but they don't readily invest. All the financial institutions are liquid, and the government normally is broken. So when you give workers lump sum, over 60% go in the bank. They're not spending it. When you see real spending in this country is when you invest in people in the lower income group. So it makes sense, irrespective of how tough it is, to always make certain that you do not have much people unemployed, you have a strong social program, and you provide a little for the people in the lower income group. Even if it means forcing the people in the higher income group to invest. So when the government gave them bonds, encourage the credit union and the banks to buy the bonds from government, because 60% of the cash will come back to them. That some would argue was a better economic policy. Now, this government, that's one of the reasons you see cash inside. Some teachers was jumping up for more pay. The government was mindful that if we take the money and give them, we got to fire the man. We got to cut social program. We won't be able to provide, they have a word for it, support for other institutions, and we may create too much social decadence. It's a question of philosophy. The government, the NNP, always tend to be more inclined, to be more sensitive to the needs of the people in the lower income group, while the NDC have always seemed to turn the nose on the people in the lower income group, chastise them for being poor, chastise them for being uneducated, chastise them for being lazy. So it's easy for the NDC to take 75 million and pay one group and fire the next group. Whereas they could have paid 25% cash, paid 25% in bonds for 1 year, 25% in bonds for 3 years, and 25% in bonds for 5 years. So the money that you're putting in the bank, in savings, the impact on the central government would not be devastating. The Minister of Labor and Attorney General say, we're going to seriously damage the economy. She went on to say, we could damage the economy irreparably. That is why you had money in the treasury. And that is why this government now going to end up in serious economic situation that they would have to sell assets. In 2008, the NDC government gave a tax break to big companies. And when we say big companies in Grenada, we have to be careful because Grenada is a small economy. So we don't have so much of rich people. I hardly like to use the word rich and poor. I prefer to use the word discretionary income. But because of the class system that Grenadians want to gravitate to, even some poor Grenadians does play their harmony. That is why you find two people in a home, both of them working for 3,000 or less, and they have two vehicles. They can't even buy gas. That is why you see men with gold chain around their neck and they're begging for a drink in the shop. They believe they have to present themselves in a higher social status. That is why you see a lot of educated men with a briefcase of certificate. But they can't pay to send a child to study music. But if you see them show off, that is the difference. The National Democratic Congress come in power, and within 6 months, they unravel the confidence, the remnant of confidence that the bank have with the people in the lower income group. They unravel that. And they will put more money in the financial institution and make them more liquid. And they will create more social havoc in the country. People will be unemployed. Marketing board workers going home. This is the difference. And as long as Grenadians, particularly the people in the lower income group, does not understand the philosophy of the two political parties, every now and then they go end up in trouble. It's a question of the thinking. Look at the utterances of the members of the National Democratic Congress, particularly those more radicalized, needy and greedy. Good people, we the good people. So all Grenadians no good. All of a sudden they say, we the good people. And they describe the others as needy and greedy. People like me, who on the radio, they say you're singing for your supper. And when I meet some individuals and they look at me and they find this, because of my height, I'm supposed to have a briefcase, a certificate too. They say, well, you're stupid, or you take bribe or something, or you're working for Keith or something. They can't sit down and deal with the issues. Caller, don't believe me. I know you is a moderate. Take on hardline NDC and just play the devil's advocate. You go hear they calling you traitors. The National Democratic Congress is the party that anytime you disagree with it, even the members, they call them traitors. Caller, one of the Calypsonians, he said NNP is a mentality. So even in NDC, he have NNP. Some of the individuals in the NDC now, they're warning Deacon about wolf in sheep clothing. Those NNP you see pretending, don't bother with them. Show them out. That is why the members of the National Democratic Congress on the ground is strongly advocating to fire NNP workers. That is the challenge we have. And that could change. The National Democratic Congress remained for over 15 years attacking the Imani program, but they don't have an alternative. In 2008, they used the word revamp. They fired them. Now, after 15 years, this group of people say they're going to reimagine. 15 years ago, they wanted to revamp. Up to this time, they cannot come with an alternative for a program that employed 3,000 people. You see, when you speak, sometimes you have to listen to the message and analyze it and forget the messenger. Imagine the only strategic expert on public policy analyst in the whole OECS. He said, really good people. And because he's a strategic expert on public policy, he should have written or come up with ideas on what we're going to do if we have high unemployment in a country and government already is the biggest employer. Information from the organization in the Caribbean says, and you could check it, you don't have to believe me. I don't want people readily believe me when I speak, because there are too much people on radio tampering with the truth. They claim one of the biggest challenges we have in the Caribbean is that 60% of the people that are looking for jobs don't have the talents, the skills, or the education for the job that is available. Yet, for 15 years, members of the National Democratic Congress cannot come up with an alternative for the program they hate the most, Imani. They like to use big words. Imani means hope, faith and hope. They cannot come up with another word. They had to use a combination, a big word. Nobody remember it after 2-3 months. And they don't have an alternative to the program, but they damn the program. Over 6 months now, the National Democratic Congress cannot come up with a policy, a program, a methodology, a medium, a via to restructure or change MNIB. But they're sure they're going to fire some workers. Why not come up with a policy? And when the policy unfolds, who knows? You may even employ more people. Instead of that, one thing they're sure, low-rank workers must go. It is mind-boggling. These things is not in the interest of the NDC, but it is so deeply embedded in the DNA that they're helpless. This party took $75 million. And I don't want you to believe me on that. Ask any person that in the bank, any worker that work in the bank, ask them if it was not more in the government interest to pay a portion of money in cash and a portion of money in bonds to mature in different periods. Because based upon the culture of our people, we put our money in the bank. And all the financial institutions are liquid. And they give a small quantity, a small amount of interest. So the government has placed themselves in economic bankruptcy to pay 75 million. When they could have paid it in 4 tranche, 4 parts, 1 in cash, and the other 3 in bonds to mature in different periods. They are not, the NDC has impregnated themselves with bitterness and anger. And they listen to the Prince of Hate so much that they're consuming their own propaganda. They are not thinking. If over 600 people unemployed and more going home, then what is the value that you just select a party that doesn't seem to have any answers to expand the economy? You're going to create panic in the business sector. You go contract. You damage the relationship between the financial institutions and the people in the lower income group. Because you told them you will make them permanent so they could go in the bank. You did not make them permanent. But you firing people that are working 9 and 15 years old and 15 years in the service. So they have unraveled the confidence that exists. Now, everything the NDC doing seems to be preparing themselves for failure. Why do I say that? In addition to all what I've said before, they put serious emphasis on the CBI program to fund the budget. But they turn communism. They want to embrace Daniel Ortega. They want to embrace the Daniel Ortega. Now, instead of the prime minister sending his foreign ministers, he's glad to get to be a replica of Bishop. And he's not a socialist. He is not a socialist. Because he wants to sell assets. Socialism don't do that. He doesn't care about the proletariat, or those in the lower income group. Even when he make a Christmas party, his serious politicos cannot attend the party because they don't have money. They can't pay $400 for a Christmas party. And they didn't make a cheap one for them. So he's not a socialist. But yet he wants to embrace this, the remnant of the socialist leaders in the Caribbean, which are almost spent energy. While you put so much emphasis on the CBI program, and you know if you anger the Americans, they will retaliate. If the Prime Minister continue on that trajectory, and some of the moderates in the party don't come with a rude awakening, then maybe in the next 2-3 years, the economy will be in free fall. And the government will be selling MNIB, selling Green Lake. They like to sell Grand Bay Estate, sell Moncton Estate, sell the shares that the port authorities have all about. Because when NDC panic, they just sell as if they're on coke. And I see nothing that tells you they're going to expand the economy. They're only whooping. If you talk about that, they say that. You talk about that, they say that. You could see they have not thinking. Look at the drama. You know it's shared drama. So that is why I say that color. And I believe it ought to be of concern to all and sundry. This country is ours. We don't want to see it go back. You want the government to have some measure of success. Politicians has made mistakes. So there is no reason to tell lies on any politician. You could speak the truth on politicians. But this government, they have a policy that is going to cause this economy to be in free fall. They are targeting the people in the lower income group for mischief. They're behaving like bullies. You see, they try to fire 1% custom. The union is strong. They close it down for 1 week. They lose about 30-something million. They cannot touch unionized workers as individuals. They can't do it. They could retrench a department and pay them the money. But the people in the parallel service, that is the service they provide a law for. An attraction they couldn't refuse. The government is taking advantage of them. The actions of the government is going to cause fracture in the community. It's going to cause bitterness and disharmony in the public service. When a government is going to tolerate, I agree for the Ministry of Mischief to be sending the agents in the opponent activities to see who are the public officers that they're going to cause mischief. And I want to say to these public officers, every time there is a disaster, some people come out real good. Some people make a lot of money when there is disaster. Even if you feel that you are targeted politically, you should not be despondent. You should think there is a good opportunity for some of you to improve your education. Do your bachelor's degree. Do some course in some technical areas that you could be meaningfully employed. If you have already spent 26 years and a third in government, maybe you should seriously consider taking your judgy bundle and go. Hold some discussion with your personal officer. What money you'll get if you retire now. Let's suppose you're a policeman and you're under the rank of inspector. Be honest with yourself and see if you're likely to get promotion within the next 5 years. Particularly if you are targeted because they believe you are not of their political incline. And you have an option to consider retirement. Because technically, when you reach, yes, caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Great, man.
Late last year, I raised a question with you concerning flow. Cable and wireless flow.
Yeah.
Shares. I spent thousands of dollars purchasing shares. Years now. Up to this date, I cannot hear of any meeting, no AGM, no dividends. What is happening? Do you have any idea of what is happening?
You told me about flow. That was a few days before the holiday.
Yes.
And I have an idea what is going on, but I need to get more information.
Okay.
So once I get a little more information, I'm hoping to do it before the month end.
Right.
I'll speak on it.
Do your research.
You hear me spoke about Nawasa.
Yeah.
And I have to speak about flow, but in terms of the service to the people. But that aspect, I have to get more information.
Okay, sir.
Yes, my brother.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, a lot of these, we have a lot of issues that going on in Grenada that creating great discomfort and disadvantaging people. But it doesn't seem to have voices to seek their interests. The big companies ain't bothering. So we have to speak about that. So flow, in terms of the shares, is one of the things I have to get more information on. The information I have on it is still, because I never buy shares in this company. I didn't trust them. So I didn't buy shares. You see, this country belongs to us. When you support a political party, sometimes you have to listen to the opposition, what they say about the party, and see if there is any merit in it. Every time you hear somebody does not agree with you, don't shut them off. Listen to them and see if there is any merit in what they say. I am saying no, that the trajectory the government on, they're turning the hand of the clock back. This government seems to be moving faster to what went on in 2008 than anything else. Over 600 workers lost their job. Whether you like the workers that lost their job or not, remember they live in your community. They live in your community. When a government comes in power and firing women that been working 4 years, 5 years, 9 years, 15 years, 17 years, and the government is using technicality to fire them. And none of the government activists, the politicos, the social media warriors, they don't have reason. The government has shut up the mouth of all the NDC defenders. The mouth shut. Sometimes I have to fight to corner a few of them. I have to fight to corner them. Me and John Galton till like that. They're just cussing you. So you have to beg them to talk to you because they don't have defense. Some of them are upset why the government is firing these people. You see, it's a small country we're in. And we have to be careful. We cannot be disadvantaging people because of political reasons. Because there's a lot of individuals, their spouse is yellow and the next spouse is green. You have close friends that is green and yellow. So when a government come with this level of bitterness and anger, then it's going to backfire. And it doesn't seem to understand that. And it come more because I'm certain some of the people that they're going to fire in marketing board jump up for them. You remember what the CCC workers told Chester Humphrey? Say, Chester, you make us vote out with job. Yes, scholar, welcome.
Morning, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, this morning I get in the news that they fired 12 workers that taking care of them old people. And like they're going to the parishes, they're going to St. George's, St. Andrews, St. Mark's, St. Patrick's. So they find 12 from each village. What happened with us in Grenada?
Well, I think
Mr.
they
Pierre,
find them
things getting
in
worse.
it. Yeah.
People balling with their mouth closed. A lot of people feeling the pressure, NNP supporters, NDC supporters, everybody feeling the pinch of what's going on. Because these people, they get seen. You don't know what they really do. They get seen. I tell you, things real tough. It's rough. It's hard. People crying out. You know? I know they realize the mistake they made. But it's too late.
I think when they
You gotta go through that for 5 years. And under that 5 years, tell yourself, crap of smoke beneath the sky. And the people in America who support the people down here and tell them to vote NDC, then people in America fearing well, they drinking the coffee, they drinking the everything, and then see no trouble. So Pierre, what have me scared and funny? How you could take away the tax from the businessmen and throw it on the poor people? Come on, man. You can't do this thing and the poor people are crying out. The poor people are spending the money. No, you pay the pension. How much pension are spending? That money going in the bank. The bank are making the interest. You know, spending. Look at the Christmas. These projects will take away the contract workers. They want to feel the pressure. Pass by them Indians and them and ask them what's going on. They crying out. You see, that was the worst Christmas. And they lie. Because I never see carpet and thing, eggs and selling, carpet and selling. That happened to me neither. You understand? Mr. Pierre, we have to say have a good day. I'm sorry I in it, but I have to stay in it.
Yes, thank you, Colin.
Just keep doing the work you're doing and educating people because a lot of us are going on.
As
now,
I've
some
spoken
people
to
saying they give 2 fortnight. They never give 2 fortnight. They give 2 contracts with 1 fortnight. So people looking at it, they get 2 contracts. Nobody can get 2 contracts. 1 contract with 2 fortnight. So tell these people to stop lying and check out what's going on in this country. Have a good day, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, scholar. You know, it is sad. I think the saddest thing is when you speak to the women in the women who go and work with the old people, the caregivers. I asked one of the girls what money she was making for, how much money they work for. She tell me $700 is 6 something when they take out the NIS. But what she said that had me, she said for the last 6 years, they never cut out your water and they never cut out your light. And she said this Christmas, I can't even buy blind. I got to wash back the blind and put it. And nothing a woman like more than having blind, new blind for the Christmas in her door. She said the NDC in the group, because it's a group of them that they tell them they're sorry for them. Because they are friends. Because it's the NNP they fired. Now, why the government doing that? Because over the years, the government developed hate. 6 years ago, I was on a program and I was comparing some of the radio personalities in Grenada with that of Rwanda. They was preaching hate. That is why NDC individuals was advocating to chop on NDC. The old NDC, they said chop on them. One of the motivational speakers, he was claiming, give them armchair and send them home. So you have a very bitter group that practically they make a they make a retirement benefit. They make a retirement party for them all NDC. You know. They say behave on yourself. They give them a retirement party. So they're very bitter. And you don't have to believe me, you know. Just try speaking to the NDC warriors in your village. You're going to see how arrogant and how bitter they are. They encourage the government, make them go, make them go. But the National Democratic Congress is leading this country down the wrong road. It is unfortunate and it's sad, but they're leading this country down the wrong road. You know, one hope that they will change their attitude somewhere along the line and rescind the letters that they give, particularly to the women of Kariakou, Pauls, the road workers, the women in the fisheries. We do hope they would rescind these letters and recognize that the damage that they will be doing to the social fabric of our society. We're back with you tomorrow between 12 and 1 when we get another opportunity to punch. Thank you.